All right, you guys, for the start of my painting unit, I always like to have my students work with tints and shades. I made a little worksheet for you to practice this. Your paint is set out on the counter over there. It should be a tempera paint. You guys do tempera? I don't want you guys getting acrylic paint if you find it around the room. It's just a more expensive paint. We don't need to use it. When you get paints, I usually use a magazine for my palette. I happen to have a white piece of paper here just so you can see my mixing better. Magazines are great because they are shiny, so they don't let the paint bleed right through them. And when you're done, just throw it away. Do you see? Dime? If I had a dime, I would put it down here so you can see. That's how much paint you need. Please don't pour out huge puddles. It wastes my paint. You can always get more. It's like 10 feet away from you. Choose one color for this assignment. I chose red. For the first row, I'm going to do tints. Tints is when you take a color and you mix it with white. So think about going to the paint store. You get a can of paint tinted. So they take a white can of paint and they put a little bit of color in it, and that's what's a tint. I want you guys staying inside the box as you paint. Your first step is to paint in your pure color. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and do this on both of my boxes. I'll try to work quickly here so this video isn't too long. I do expect you guys to stay inside your boxes because that's part of controlling the paint. If you go to paint a cube, you need to be able to keep the paint inside the lines, right? So you get the idea. I want it to stay inside the lines. To do that, I often use the tip of my brush and pull away from the line that I'm trying to paint. That gives you a square edge. You can also work the corner of your brush. So if I'm trying to paint this straight line, I'm looking at my wet edge and making adjustments as I work slowly with that corner. Okay. Also with you, every time you paint, a cup of water, paper towel. We are not watercoloring. So anytime you switch colors or you've made a mistake and you need to clean off your brush, I'm going to wash this brush off right now because I've got a lot of red on it. I don't want it. I have to dry it so that I'm working with paint and not a wet, watery watercolor. For tints, we're adding white. But tints, to get a bright tint, we need to start with pure white. So I'm going to start with a little bit of pure white over there. And I'm going to take a pinprick of my red color. Do you see the tiny pinprick on my brush? I'm going to mix that into that puddle of white that I separated, and it turns pink really quickly. It should be the lightest color you can possibly get, the lightest tint. This is going to be down here. I'm going to turn my page now so you can see the whole scale. I'm going to paint this tint. This is the lightest pink that I think I can get, and I'm going to go ahead and paint that in down here. White is your weak color. So with a weak color, you always start with a big puddle of the weak color and you add the strong color to it. Red is super strong. It's going to turn it really fast. So I'm going to take a little more red on my brush. I'm going to stop and I'm going to mix it into this puddle, make a slightly darker tint of pink, and paint that in. I'm going to stop doing perfect boxes so I can move along here. Add a little more red to that puddle. Sometimes you screw up. If it gets too red too fast, stop, wash your brush, and make a different puddle. If I try to fix it with a dirty brush that's already got a whole lot of red on it, I will never recover. I will just keep adding white, and it won't change, and I'll be frustrated. So sometimes you just have to stop, clean the brush off, give it another go. Now I want it to get close to red here. Okay, that looks pretty good. So it's just like a value scale, only this is only the tints. Now, have to clean off my brush. You may not have black and white mixing. What happens if black and white mix? You get gray. You no longer have a pure tint or a pure shade. Okay, so I'm switching to my shaded scale here, back at red. With shades, which is the stronger color? Black or red? Black is going to be your stronger, so in this case, I'm going to take a puddle of red, set it over here, and I'm going to add my pinprick of the strong color, so my pinprick of black to this little red puddle. Mix that in. Paint it on the paper, check. Does that look darker than my original red? Yeah, I think it does. Add another little pinprick. Mix it in my puddle. Paint it in. It should look darker again. Just so you guys know, tints are easier with darker colors. So if you choose blue today, your tints are going to be easy. Your shades are going to be difficult because it's hard to show 6 shades of blue, which is already a dark value. The opposite, if you took yellow today, it's going to be easy to make your shades. It's going to be really hard to make a 6 different tints of yellow because it's already such a light color. As I get down here to my last shade, it should be dang near black. I don't want it to be pure black because, I mean, you could just paint pure black in there. That's stupid. So it needs to be the darkest color that you can possibly make for red, or whatever your color is that you chose. And of course, these are painted perfectly. Now, you're probably wondering what this gigantic box over here is for. Clean off your brush again. We are going to make a blended value scale. So we've made a tinted scale, a shaded scale, and now it's time for a blended scale. Again, I want you working perfectly inside the box, so work your brush in different directions, but for right now, I'm going to go fast. I'm going to start with my pure color right in the middle of this box. To blend paint, it absolutely must be wet. Dry paint doesn't mix. Now I take my white straight from the puddle onto my page, and with that paint being wet on the paper, it will blend and mix right there. Notice how I have my brush straight up and down. I'm working with sort of a feathery motion to blend that paint. So just using the tippy tip of the brush. Do you think I'm going to get to a nice bright white down here? I don't think I am. Red is too strong. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to clean off my brush. Dry it because we're not working with watercolors. And I'm going to go straight to my white puddle, which already has a little bit of red mixed in it at this point. And I'm going to start working this direction. As long as that paint is still wet, I should be able to get it to blend. And now I've got a nice blended tinted side. Starting over, I'm going to go back. Clean off your brush. Black and white should never meet. Not in this assignment. Clean off your brush. Dry the brush. I need my paint to be red again. I'm being really careful not to pick up any white from that red puddle. But I need this to be wet or it's not going to blend. And I'm taking my pinprick of black because remember, black is really strong. It's going to overwhelm that red right away. So I have to very carefully mix it back and forth. I'm going to have to use quite a bit of red here to get this to make it all the way to the end just because black is so strong. And I'll add some heavy black in here, mix it back and forth until you have a nice blended scale. Now, do you see where it dried on me and I tried to mix there and it didn't want to mix? So I'm going to try to put a little more red right there to get that to blend. I want this work nice and clean to the edge of the box. When you're done with this, bring it up to me and I'll show you your next assignment.